Hello and welcome everyone to our monthly webinar, Blueprint to Build Right. My name is Phil Anthony. I'm with ICC as a digital code solutions specialist. We have quite a few products that we do deliver digitally. Our Digital Codes Premium, which has many of these product features that Eric's going to be going through. I'm going to let Eric introduce himself in just a couple minutes here, but as far as the housekeeping items, yes, this is being recorded. Yes, we will send out the recording link once our marketing department cleans it up to everyone within a week after. So you don't need to request that. We'll be sending out to all registrants, whether they actually attended or not. Also, I will state that while we're doing the presentation, please feel free to post questions or comments in the chat. I know Eric's going to focus on mostly on the BIM workflows here, but if you got questions about Digital Codes Premium or anything else, I'll be in the background. And if any questions relate to what Eric's talking to at that moment that are important, I will interrupt them or wait for him to pause and then interrupt him and we'll address that. And these usually do not last the entire hour, so we'll have time for verbal questions at the end where we'll let people raise their hands to ask questions. So I will go and monitor chat. Eric, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thanks a lot, Phil. And I'll reiterate what Phil said. Along this journey today, go ahead and if there's any questions, Phil, go ahead and stop me in my tracks. I'm happy to answer midstream. So please leave that door to stay open. Well, hello and welcome everybody to Blueprint to Build Right, unlocking code intelligence to elevate your BIM workflows. So I'm Eric Stover. I'm the Digital Products Manager here at the ICC, International Code Council. And today I'm going to cover how advanced code integration not only streamlines your design process and reduces risk, but also gives you the talking points you need to confidently sell your leadership on the value of integrating BIM with the building code. So let's go ahead and dive in. Sure. Go. So let's start by walking through the core content pillars that power ICC's digital ecosystem. So at the heart of it all, we have the I codes, our flagship model codes, which includes the IBC, the IRC, IFC, and more. And these are the foundation of safe and sustainable building practices across the US and around the world. And then next, we layer on top adoptions. And ICC tracks how each jurisdiction adopts and amends the model codes. So it's essential for anyone working across regions or needing jurisdiction-specific clarity to know exactly who's doing what with the codes themselves. And we have states and global content, which brings this unique overlay, statewide modifications, regionally enforced codes, and international additions on top of all that. And if we keep building this pyramid out, we also have standards, which are the technical backbone, reference documents like ANSI, ASHRAE, and others that support the model codes. And then lastly, we have these things called commentaries, which is content that is essentially expert interpretation of all of the above. And this includes official guidance from ICC code development staff, which helps you understand the why behind the code, not just the what. So there's really a lot of information here that we, again, much of which we provide for free, and many of it is also under a subscription plan. So let's talk about how we're bringing it all to life through services that scale with your business needs. So on the left side, you'll see our suite of paid services. These are tools and capabilities that sit on top of all that code content that really unlocks value across the whole building lifecycle. Starting with AI Navigator, it gives your team essentially 24/7 access to intelligent code guidance, code lookups, and compliance answers, all powered by ICC's trusted content and models that are specifically trained for the built environment. And I'll get to that in a minute when I get through my demo. Next is collaboration tools, which helps your team and reviewers and clients stay aligned. In this case, think markup, shared annotations, comment threads that live directly within the code content itself. We also have expert engagement, which connects you with the ICC experts for interpretations, project-specific questions, and deep code guidance. So it's great for when the stakes are high or the language is unclear that you need somebody who really knows something about the code that you can reach out to. Next up is our Code Connect API. So this is for the tech-forward firms. It allows pretty much a seamless integration of all of that content into building information tools or internal apps and even third-party platforms. So it brings that code directly into design and compliance workflows in your own environment. And finally, we have plan review services, which can streamline your permit process with, again, ICC review plans, helping you move projects forward faster with fewer surprises. And now let's bring it all together. So again, on the left, you'll see 3 primary platforms where you can access ICC's innovation tools and all of that content. I'm starting with obviously the web. It's our most robust interface. It's perfect for research, documentation, and managing workflows at your desk or the office. We also have a mobile experience. So we know that work happens in the field too. So our mobile experience ensures that folks like inspectors, contractors, project teams can have access to the code content and services wherever you are. And also we've been building out our presence in the design application world. So for architects and engineers, our integration with tools like Revit, that means code compliant and AI assistance show up directly inside the design process, contextual, real-time, and actionable. So this is a bit of our full picture. So we have this, the ICC is trusted for its content. We have modern services, and again, really all available for where your team is working. Okay, so as I kind of go through this presentation and demonstration today, I wanted to make sure I'm absolutely crystal clear about, like, a lot of this is actually freely available to you. So the I codes, the state codes, what's adopted, all that content is free in terms of read only on the ICC's website. There's like no features, but you can actually access it and search and get to it. And you can get through it through our 3 platforms. So if you did nothing else today and you just want to access the content, you absolutely can do that with all the various interfaces that we've got. All right, so let's take a look at our latest add-in for Autodesk Revit. So integrated with Autodesk Revit is our add-in connects your design environment to, again, our trusted library of over, I think, 2,800 building codes and standards at this point. So again, right where your design decisions are made. You can access any relevant jurisdictions codes in one centralized view, which is, again, enriched with code commentaries, insights, and AI-assisted guidance, helping you grow a deeper understanding of building safety. So we support the Revit 2022 versions all the way up to Revit 2026. If you want to get the older versions, which is specifically Revit 2022, that is on the Autodesk App Store. And we have all the versions on there, by the way. You can get all 4 versions there, but we host this specifically the older version, 2022 there. Or you can just go where we post it, which is our own download page. And let me tab over to that. So it looks something like this. So under codes.iccsafe.org/Revit, you can actually just search ICC Revit and get to the same location. This is our landing page. And so if you want to go get the application, again, free download. It's like a couple hundred megabytes to install, but this is where you go to get it. And then this is a bit of kind of the features and benefits, some testimonials, and some clip art of kind of what you're going to get when you use the product. So that's our location for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take it for a bit of a test drive. Let me get back over to Revit here. All right, so this is Autodesk Revit. Again, it's been what Autodesk refers to as a building information modeling product, which means that all the content that you put inside of Revit has some level of intelligence to it. Walls know their walls, pipes know their pipes, doors know that they're doors, so that you can do all kinds of wonderful things with that information once you get a building designed and built. In terms of where to find our app, if you go into the ribbon under add-ins, so I'm going to switch back and forth. So under add-ins, you'll see once it gets installed, this is our toolbar. So let me go ahead and start the login process. Give my internet a minute to boot up. And so I've already logged in, but if you're not logged in before, you'll either get prompted for adding a username and password, or you'll have to set up your account. But I'm already logged in, and this is kind of the first thing that I see when I go to Revit. So what you're looking at here is the dashboard that is specific to Revit and the Revit environment. We have access to all the projects that you're creating. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Access to the building codes, help system, and then kind of who we are, the team that's working behind the scenes on this product. So in the dashboard, we've got, let's start with kind of like looking at our project menu. So if I click on View All Projects, let's kind of take a look around here. Oops, click on that again. And so what you see here is a listing of the projects that I created using this tool set. And again, this is not something, having lived through this industry for the last 30 some odd years, there's all kinds of places to go and start, put in project information in your software applications. And so I see a question from Cowbell Designs about, I'm assuming LT does not support this. And yes, I'll jump in and say you're correct. Autodesk Revit LT does not support third-party plugins. So it does not work for that. Sorry to say. So in the My Project world, so you can kind of see that I've set up a particular project here in this context. And so if I click on this one in particular, the Golden Gate Innovation Hub, you can see I've got some basic details about the project itself, the jurisdiction, the location. I get a nice friendly map of where it's located. And then down below, a listing of all the relevant building codes for this particular project. And so if I go back to my projects list, every single project that I set up here kind of looks and feels the same, just some basic information and some building codes. The idea here is that we're trying to gather enough information so that we can actually start to stitch together a really robust, feature-friendly experience inside of Revit. And the only way to do that is we know a little bit about what you're working on so we can serve up the right information at the right point in time. And so by telling us kind of where it is in terms of jurisdictions and what building codes are associated with it, that helps us a lot in terms of kind of what we want to build out in the product. So I'll get to that and more of that in a second. I'll go through an example of that. But you have access to your building codes, plan review services. I'll get to that in a few minutes too. The current iCodes, the listing of our webinars. So if you want to get access to that and see this over and over again, you can do that. We have a listing of kind of all the compliance calculators that we support. And so I can talk about this more a little bit later, but as of today, we've got 6 calculators that you can use. And we're working with a third party called ClearCalcs, which roughly on average once a quarter, they deliver a new calculator for us and our customers. So anyway, there's an easy way to get to that through our dashboard. So let me go back to Revit here. And let's go ahead and start a new project and just kind of show some examples here. So when I start something brand new, I can go ahead and click on project info again. And then in this case, instead of showing me the list of projects, I start off with okay, I'm here to create a new project. Tell me something about what this Revit file is going to be attached to. So I'm just going to type in something local here for me, which is the Northgate Sustainability Center. We're actually getting our mall, our major mall in our local area is now being torn down to create housing and a sustainability center, real life use case. I type in kind of the project type, so I can go ahead and select whatever project type is associated with this building. I'll just type in something short here, description here. And then so in jurisdiction, I am going to type in, this is actually Marin County. And then in terms of the location of this work, it's at actually 5800. And type in Civic Center Drive. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Civic Center. I should know better. It's Northgate. And there we are. And then once I put that in, it shows me a map to where the mall used to be and where this housing and center is going to go. And so next up, I can go ahead and type in like the associated codes that are relevant to this. So I'm just going to go ahead and start typing in, let's see, that's going to be the 21 IBC for the building code. I select on that. The mechanical code is also the IMC 21. Click on that. And maybe I'll just put in one more, the fire code, which is the IOC. But in this list, you can see that we've got pretty much every catalog that's relevant towards, you actually can't quite see it there. Here, you can, anything that is state related or iCode related is listed in here that you can go ahead and assign to this particular project. So let me go ahead and do that. And I'll say create project. And you can see at the bottom, I've got my Northgate Sustainability Center project all set up and ready to go. And now what's happened back in Revit is that now this Revit file is associated with that project information so that we can start to build out, again, these experiences now that we know this is located in Marin County and we know that there's 3 building codes associated with this particular project. So one of the features we've got here, I can go ahead and I'll start and click on code schedules. And that starts off a process of linking the building codes to this particular file in terms of scheduling. I'll say okay to that. And let's go ahead and bring up a schedule sheet here as an example, zoom in. So what we've done inside of Revit, if you go into schedules and none, and you'll see the building code summary table. And so what I can do is now bring that over and insert that in the file. And now we have a link between what we've got in terms of our project information and the actual building codes associated with it. So that's all one and done. And now we've got like a link to that. And so again, pretty simple. Like these are simple things that we're able to now do now that we know something about the project. Other things I wanted to say is that once you enter that information, let me actually go to the cover page here. You'll see that we've now also attached the project name to the actual variable inside of Revit for project name. So the Northgate Sustainability Center is there. So like to find that, what we've done, if I go to manage and project information here and inside of Revit, you can see that I've got the project address here and the project name listed. So again, that is pulled directly from that little bit of information you've pulled in. So again, more of kind of the connective tissue here between what we've done on the website and what we're doing inside of Revit. So it just take a moment here, but in summary, so for this project, we've successfully completed the simple project setup process in Revit, which includes entering key project details like the name, type, and location. We applied the 21 state building codes and linked the relevant code schedule, placing it on the schedule sheet for clear visibility during a future plan review. The project name was inherited, as you saw here, directly from the Revit project info, which maintains consistency across all of your documentation, as you saw in this particular cover sheet. And then lastly, like taking these steps up front saved valuable time by reducing manual entry and coordination errors. That's really what information modeling is all about. It's really all this about coordination and ultimately helping you avoid potential compliance issues further down the project plan as we start to kind of, build all this, all this together. So let me go back to add-ins. Oops, I think it logged me out. Give me a second here. Log back in. I timed out. Okay, back to Revit. So let's say that you're not starting a brand new project from scratch, that you are, you're working on projects today, you've just downloaded our app and installed it. We do have this thing called a project selector. So what this enables you to do is actually take the working file you've got and attach it to any particular project that you've set up in our system. So there's always a way, once the work is in progress, to go and assign it to something. And once you've done that, then so if I say that this file is now associated with the Golden Gate Innovation Hub, I can now get that to update and connect to that particular project information. And then this stuff will all get updated as well. All right, so let me go out. I'm going to work from left to right here. Let me go back to the codes library. And in here, I'll bring up my ICC dashboard. And so again, what you're looking at today is essentially, our web presence. So once you are, working, most customers tend to work with Revit on one big screen and usually web browsers and Outlook and everything else on the second screen. So the idea here is that as you're working in Revit, you can engage with all the various stuff and features we've got with the building codes on a second screen. So hence, I'm just going back and forth, but I know that the reality is a little bit different with what people have on their desktops. But in this case, so when I go to the dashboard here in the web, the content dashboard, I can see kind of all the recently viewed titles that I've looked at, any notes and bookmarks, which I'll show you in a minute, that I've documented in the last 30 days, links to other features, code updates. So again, what I like about this section is that if there are any new titles, I can see those listed here. And again, anything that is, that I subscribe to, what else has been new also gets listed down below. But again, kind of this is your one-stop shop of like how you've been working with all the various ICC titles. If I click on your premium title, so this is the, if I want to subscribe and I want to get all the features on top of this content, this shows me like I've got access to 2,800 titles in my library. And then of course, it wouldn't be a web page without a favorite section. And again, this is where I've got, all the favorites of the docs that I use over and over again. So let's go ahead and drill down into the 21 International Building Code and talk about what the experience is here. So, this is essentially laid out like every other book website you can imagine, and on purpose, right? We want to make sure that it's crystal clear, easy to navigate. On the left-hand side, you see all the various chapter information, and as I expand it, I can see this, various sections. Let me just click on one for sake of example, and I can navigate this environment on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, again, is obviously all the content, and I can use my wheel mouse to kind of scroll through this, again, to actually navigate the content itself. A few things to call out about this experience is that up above, we have, as new versions of the same title come out, we actually have a historical library of all those versions. So you can see here, the second version of the IBC printed on September 2021, which is different than the first, which was different than something that was bundled together in September 20. So you can actually go back in time and actually see what was documented based upon, again, your project needs. So there's some about that. Up here in the heart is, again, you can, once you're in a document, you can favorite this document for future use. Let me click on the notes section next. So the notes, which I'll show you here in a minute too, is that, again, as you're, think of what we think about notes, think about it in terms of sticky notes. So when you have a regular book and you're writing notes against the book, you put the sticky notes in against the chapters or sections. Same thing here, but digital. So if I click on, this particular note on use designation, you can see that on this section, Eric Stover wrote a note on July 6, 2025. So again, you can, using notes, you can document up all the books that you have subscribed to. So that's what's, I would say, the difference between like the free read-only access and what is, under subscription, where you have to pay a monthly fee for, or annual fee. These are the kinds of features that layer on top of that are, again, for fee. So again, I'll do some more notes here in a minute. But again, that's the big idea, is I kind of click through this, I can see all of my various notes attached to sections that, again, matter to me. But it's all in a nice way to, user-friendly way to navigate all in one viewpoint. The other thing that we have are these things called insights. So this is kind of like, think about this. This is kind of like all the value add that ICC brings to the table that sits on top of the building codes. And so, for example, if I click on this, I'll just kind of go through the menu of things I can select. So if there have been, code changes, we document the whys, the code, change details. If there are interpretations from our various group of experts, they're, listed here. Commentary excerpts, again, as we can talk about this in real human terms, what these things mean, those things you can search on. I showed you a bit about compliance calculators, if there's a calculator associated with it. So let's go ahead and click on calculators, for example. And if I go back, click on calculators one more time, go back to my menu, you can see that it only shows me the chapters where there are compliance calculators associated with it. So if I click on chapter 16, you can see that, well, there's a whole list of them here. And let me scroll down, and you can see as I went down to 1603 under Insights, voila, there's a compliance calculator that is relevant to this particular section. So it's really nice to be able to filter this section on, any number of topics of things that we build. In this case, code interpretations. I can click on that, and let's talk about, section 424, play structures. And let's bring up that section. Under Insights, you can see that there are, again, hearing videos, and hearing videos are when all the, the folks who are collaborating, architects, engineers, project managers, and so on, who actually influence the code, they actually write the code that we publish. You can actually watch the video and see what was negotiated in real time before a decision was made. But let's go ahead and look at code interpretations. So under this one section, you can see, again, all this value add, where I can see an interpretation from the ICC staff of what you see in the code and what it actually may mean, again, in terms of I don't want to say dumbed down, but more like something Eric Stover could read and make sense out of. So again, as you're navigating all this content, you can see where you go. These insights are really helpful, that if it doesn't make a lot of sense initially, you can start to see, all this extra information that's relevant to that particular code. Okay, so that's a bit of our insights. Now, let's say that I want to actually search for things across a number of titles or within this title. I'm just going to bring up a previous search about enclosure of atriums, because that's actually one of the things that we're looking at in this project for Northgate in Marin. So when I type in enclosure of atriums, again, this works very much like every other search engine that you have encountered, right? And that's for a reason. So it makes it easy to navigate. You've seen it before. So just a little bit of kind of what we've got in search is that you have the ability to do things like search for the exact phrase, all of the words, any of the words, none of the words, a proximity search. So you want to search for the, like in this case, in this example of, search for the word fire within 50 words of another, like, glazing or whatever, right? So you can actually do some very complicated search on all of this content if you'd like. We also have the ability to be able to say, we'll search across a number of titles, and you can select those here. What are the categories you'd like to search on? And again, is it iCodes, publisher, type, resources, whatever. The years of the books, the content type, and then you can save your searches as well. So in this case, when I've searched for enclosure of atriums, you can see that we also have like a graphic search. So if I want to click on this photo, I can see, there's this particular chapter highlights, or at least describes this particular case of this image I'm seeing here. So you can search on graphics, but again, you can also obviously search on basic search on text, excuse me. So in this case, I was looking for enclosure of atriums, and if I go ahead and say, okay, well, this is interesting to me about fire barriers, I'm going to click on this particular section and go right to it inside of the 2021 IBC. So now at this point, as I'm kind of getting to the content that I want to kind of examine, write notes against, let me talk a little bit about this. So as you see me go from one section to the next, you can see on the right side, there's a whole set of features that show up. And so let me talk through what each of those are in turn. So I've selected this content, it's highlighted. I'm going to go ahead and copy text. I'll show you that in a minute in Revit. But the idea is here you can select and copy text out to any sort of other type of documentation that's permitted under your subscription. I have the ability to do things like, add a note or a bookmark, and I'll say, let's see, fire barrier notes here. And then let me go ahead and save that out. And now you can see that my sticky note has now been appended to this part of the book. And if I go click on notes, you can see, where is it? I have to refresh my screen. I do a reset here. And then we should be able to see my notes here. And I'm not sure where I don't see it here. All right, I'll come back to that. So anyway, so as I'm kind of collecting my notes, I can also, one of the other important things here is that as I go ahead and let me go ahead and bring up that note and edit it again. One of the things I didn't call out is the idea that you've got project tags. So again, back to the connective tissue between what we're producing on the website and Revit, I can now go ahead and associate this with my Northgate project and hit save. So now, and I'll show you the notes summary in a minute, but like I'm now adding notes not only to the book itself, but I can also select this and tag it against a number of projects. So I always have information I can go and reference. So again, it's like, I think the way to look at it too is like, they're super valuable when you're working with a library information, these tags, and they offer, like, I would say, a systematic way to categorize and organize your data for each project. Again, enhancing your productivity. So tagging is super important. I think that when you're, documenting the codes, that you can come back to it pretty easily. All right, so, and then lastly, I can go ahead and hit the print button here. And so what this does is I can actually print sections out to PDF files. So if I'm creating my, my documentation set, I'm able to take all these PDF files and bring them out and include them in my documentation set. Again, it's kind of further evidence of what the rhyme and reason why I did certain things in my building. So we give you that ability too. And then also I can click on copy link and paste that and send it to via email or wherever to my parties of interest, my coworkers. If there's something of interest about this section, I can save those URLs. All right, so let me stay in here and go out to my notes menu and bring up notes and bookmarks. All right, so in this section, this is where you go to see everything that you've documented for all the various books that you're writing notes on, doing bookmarks on, tagging, and so on. And so you can see in here, this is my most recent note about atrium spaces and fire barriers. And so in this, section, I can see the note I wrote, and as I scroll down, these are the other notes I've been writing against this, sections of the book. So again, I can see everything all in one set. And so I think one of the benefits about kind of also aggregating all this, your own domain knowledge here, is that you can go ahead and print everything out. So again, out to PDF, I can create a document, and I'm not going to save it as a PDF, but I can take all this knowledge and I can print it out and I can put it in other materials that I've got in my office that are sitting on my shelf. So again, as you're thinking about as you're growing all that domain expertise and you bring on new staff, this is a way to kind of grab all your notes, and save them out. So that other people in the office can say, oh, I now understand why they said this, or why we're using this particular, code, or why we do things the way we do them. So let me click on that. Sorry. Close out there. So again, you can also search on things like, based on the project tag. So if I click on Northgate, I should see the last note I created. It's there. Who was it created by? The dates. I can do like by title. So again, I think as you kind of add more and more of your own domain expertise to all these books over time, this is a way to kind of get them all out, and save them, or digitally just share them. Because again, as more members of your team are logged in, they also can get access to this, again, if you share it. All right. So I think I'll sum it up like this. I think like taking notes within the building codes, like this, what I just showed, it really not only reinforces compliance accuracy, but also creates a permanent searchable record of how specific code sections apply to your projects. And by capturing notes at the moment of review and then exporting them into your project documentation set, you save time later during plan check responses, which reduces the risk of misinterpretation and provides your entire team with clear reasoning for the design choices. So really, this is really meant to help streamline. So back to copy and paste. So one of the things I want to also call out in terms of kind of how we connect all this to the Revit world is that we also enable you, and I'll find a section. I'll just grab this section to grab and copy and paste whatever content you want from the books and go back to Revit. And let me just bring up a standard plan here. And go ahead, or actually, let me go back to my details. Where's it? Schedules here. I can also go in here and start an annotation. So let me do that. And click on text, bring it in here, and I can copy all that text in here. And again, the rationale for doing this is that you're now able to kind of take content directly from the codes themselves and put them against any sort of documentation you've got in your Revit file. Again, as offering of proof of why you did something, so that when somebody's doing a plan review, they can say, oh, this came from chapter so-and-so in the book. And so, yeah, I've seen this before. This makes sense. And again, you can move on versus a phone call that happens. It's like, please explain why you did X, Y, and Z. So again, you can copy as much or as little over to Revit. This isn't a live link. This is a one and done at this particular point in time, but I will, as I talk about kind of the future, I will show you a few things of where we're going next with this particular feature. All right. I see Phil's been answering questions. I see the no beeping up in the upper right-hand corner from WebEx. So again, Phil, please feel free to stop me if there's anything burning that we want to get into. Otherwise,
well, I'll mention something. I thought you would have stopped for a sip of water by this point, but
I got an IV. I'm working an IV.
I think you do cover this about the roadmap in the future here, but someone did ask about Revit LT compatibility.
Yeah, so I mentioned that and on the fly. So yeah, Autodesk does not allow its Revit LT product to have plugins, an environmental plugin. So we unfortunately would love to, but we can't do that because of their APIs. So that's just not under our control.
And then finally, as you're showing all these features here, you have to have a plan downloaded or downloaded in Revit first, or can you start bringing items in from digital codes?
Right. So you don't. So back to Revit here. You don't have to have anything open to actually use a lot of the features that are here. So if I wanted to close all this out, so let me just do that. I'm not going to spend that much time on this, but I'll show you as I go through the rest of the features that you can actually go through each of these. And again, whether you have a drawing open or not, it doesn't matter, except for things like, the project selector and the building code schedule. Obviously, they need to have a file open and associated with them. So anyway, let me go into a few other things here. Let me bring up, like, this is a feature that, again, you can just open up via Revit without having files open. But this is our AI Navigator feature. Let me go ahead and open that up. And so, again, as everybody's exploring AI presence in their applications, this is our version of this feature. And so, again, here's where you can get guidance on your code compliance questions anytime, directing you to the most appropriate sections of the code. We are trained on a whole number of codes right now. So like the I codes and all the various state codes, and a whole number of years for each of those codes. So you can actually limit your search or your questions for a particular type of book. And so the benefit of that is, like, why wouldn't you just use ChatGPT or any other sort of AI app that's out there? And one of the main reasons for that is that those apps that are more generic in nature are essentially trying to boil the ocean. They're looking at everything everywhere and trying to learn about everything everywhere. What we've done is we focus this AI technology strictly on our literature. And that's it. It's not going to give you a recipe for marsala chicken. It's going to talk about, again, fenestration, means of egress. That's all it knows. And guess what? When you train it on a limited set of documentation, in our case, almost 3,000 building codes, it grows up really fast and it gets smarter really fast. And it's able to have conversations in a much better format when it only is limited to a certain set of content that you are looking at. And so our goal is, as we build out features here, we're also looking to expand all the content that we've got into the future of, like, maybe building standards, things like amendments to codes, and so on. So just for the sake of example, you've seen that I've done this a few times before, but let me just copy and paste that question in. What are the exceptions for glazing adjacent to doors? I'm looking at specifically Title 24 under California for answers. And so as it's kind of spinning away, thinking about what the right answer is, it comes back and says, this is what I found. And what's nice about it, and what you see in other GPTs, AI engines out there, is that they all tell you where they got the information from. So in this case, I can see that, okay, this is interesting. It's, where's it documented in Title 24? I can click on that. And it actually shows me the actual chapter information where it's located. I can click on this, and it takes me right to the space that I'm looking for. So again, another way to think about AI is that it's also a really robust search engine. So if you're looking for something and you don't know what the right words are exactly to search on, we can take that kind of human language and try to understand it and then get you to the place that matters most in terms of what you're trying to do. And again, once I'm there, again, I can do things like copy the text, I can bookmark it, I can print it out. So again, every time you land on a bit of text from us, you get this ability to do things with the text. All right, back to Revit. So continuing to the right, let me talk a little bit about this Premium Answers feature. So essentially what Premium Answers is, from ICC, we deliver a constantly expanding searchable database of questions. And I'd say this, and they're carefully crafted interpretations from the ICC team of experts. So this is where members submit questions, and kind of the internal folks look at the questions that are tend to be most asked and write very detailed answers against them. So let me open one of these up. For example, let me actually search on atriums, because that's kind of been the focus here. So we've got a few answers about atriums, and let me go down to, like, this one particular. Does the IBC require multi-story atriums? And oops. There goes, sorry, my internet is not behaving well. There we go. Try again. Well, anyway, let me try this one. Bring that up. There we go. Oh, okay. So what you can see is that the question that was submitted to this Premium Answers team was about smoke control requirements. And then what you get is they sit down for about a week or so and write a response to that and document the code sections. There's a disclaimer. But again, this kind of information from the experts also finds its way back into the original code as an insight. So again, as these things are being answered over time, we've got I think we had like 400 questions submitted and answered. All that flows right back into the books that are relevant to that content. So again, you can kind of see the richness that kind of keeps improving on the experience over time as we keep adding more and more content to really help you understand, what it is, that this content is trying to tell you. And I think one of the nice things about this specifically is that really it's a knowledge base, and it acts like one of many central repositories of information. So again, it just makes it really easy to reference and retrieve relevant data when you need it. And again, most of all, I think one of the side benefits about all this is that you can learn from these answers, right? Improving your own knowledge and skill over time. Okay, so next up, you'll see this thing called Quick Consult. So this is a separate service that we charge by question. We just kicked this off several months ago. We're kind of exploring this. We've got a lot of people using it actively. We're trying to think about kind of how best this would fit into our overall subscription program. But for today, what Quick Consult is about is that when you get stuck on a tricky code question, this is a way to reach out to experts directly, one-on-one. And and they can help answer your questions. You get expert guidance. So, our team has deep expertise in the I codes and standards. So your questions handled by professionals who know the material inside and out. You get personalized answers, and you essentially get a fast response roughly within 2 days. Like I said, it's a paid service. It's like $195 per question, but you're allowed to go back and forth with the expert. And when you're set and done and you're happy with the answer, this does not go out into the public domain. This is strictly between you and these experts. So again, there isn't make sure that your content and your questions are secure. Again, unlike the Premium Answers Q&A database, which is public domain, Quick Consult as a service is just between you and the experts. All right, and let me go back and finish up here with plan review. So I just clicked on the plan review icon, and inside of one of the services we have to offer is we have plan review services. So again, you can work with experts here. You can request a plan review. You provide some basic information into a calculator, and we can give you a quote on that. And so one of the questions too is like, okay, so we have a service, again, that's separate, but one of the things I get asked a number of times is like, well, hey, why don't we start doing plan reviews inside of Revit? And I'm saying we are definitely focused on that horizon. I think one of the key things we're trying to get to first is enabling you with as much information and training and learning about the content to empower you first before we trickle down into the world of, what's the shortest egress path? Is this compliant? Because one of the tricks about all this, and you've probably seen this with other vendors, even our primary competitor tried this and they abandoned it. It's really challenging that based upon your local jurisdiction down to your local county and the nuances of the code that we could be right. And so it's like, as we're trying to navigate this, we're thinking about and prototyping with AI engines to figure out how we could best serve up like the most important use cases here. So stay tuned on that. But for now, again, you're going to have to deal with humans if you want to work with ICC on plan review. And I would, again, these folks are great at what they do. And again, I like lots of good feedback on the plan review service from ICC. All right, so let me go back to my PowerPoint drive and talk a little bit about where we're going next. So again, if you think about the world of building information modeling, the intent of this topic is to say that once you start to build a building, all the various software applications out there today will take data in and out of that environment so that building is almost like a living thing, right? All the way from the point where you ideate on what it is to things like SketchUp or Rhino, all the way to the point where you demolish the building or you renovate it and you start the whole process all over again. And what we're looking at here is like where you see the big green ICC boxes is kind of where we have the best fit based upon the use cases we've seen between design development, analysis, construction documentation, and renovation. And so that's kind of been the focus of how we start to think about building features out. So one of the things that we're working on right now that should be out hopefully early November is the idea that, you remember I showed you how to copy and paste text from documents into your drawing sheets? Well, the next level of this will be able to create and add a URL back to that section. So when you print that out in PDF format, anybody who's reviewing those PDFs will have URLs that actually go back out to the section in the code on our site. So that'll be like an addition to that copy paste. And so this is just a screenshot from yesterday. It looks pretty ugly, I'm sure. But again, the idea here, this put your designer hats on. The idea is we're going to have a dockable interface, which is going to have all the code snippets that you capture, you copy, in a way that you can, sort them by are they architecture, building, fire, whatever. You can attach this to a projects, so you can reuse this, and then you can insert this over to the drawing. And what you're seeing here is that, this will actually be a live URL. We'll actually also put in where it came from, what chapter of what book. So that'll all get presented together. But I just want to at least show some evidence that this is currently underway. And again, I'm thinking that we'll get through the October month, and then early December, you'll get access to this. And again, no charge. This stuff is like free to use. But again, just to show you a little bit of where it's coming, and it will drastically change. The user experience will be different. This is kind of us, working on prototypes, but there's that. Also, just want to make some simple things we can do is like, so based upon your project that you're working on and what you've told us applies to that project, we'll have drop downs in our ribbon that will actually list out those, various codes, even shortcuts to sections. So it's really easy to kind of click on something and say, yeah, I want to take me to the tile 24 energy code. And that'll be listed here because that's what you're working on relevant to the project that is in Revit at the moment. Also, so what we're also actively looking at is using several AI tools that when you are building something in Revit, based upon how, what you describe the project as, what we interpret you're doing, we're going to be able to kind of give you some kind of AI sense, which will give you like not tips and tricks, but at least, hey, this content might be relevant to what you're doing right now. Did you know? So that's it, like some of the thing we're also working on. So kind of like another dialog box that just kind of gives you content, again, while you're working, that again is based upon what you're doing and the codes that you're involved with for that project. And that speaks to kind of this too, same thing. It's just as you're working, again, you'll see some information that is, we think is most important to consider from a building safety point of view. And then along this journey, as you're building out all this knowledge, you're putting notes in, you're putting bookmarks on things, you're copying, pasting, you're saving code snippets for Revit. What we're ultimately going to do is give you the ability to actually give you kind of like your own, most referenced condensed code book of all the things that are most important to you, project by project by project. So ultimately, you can use the, whatever international code as a reference, but you're going to have this kind of sub-reference that you created that's relevant in your office, that you can add to, change, go back to, use it to train, new employees. But again, that's kind of where we're headed with like kind of all this information gathering. But then also one of the side benefits of that is that we can also give you project specific checklists. So as we kind of learn more and more about how you're working in that environment and what kind of content you're saving and tagging, this becomes a reality. So this I'll say is like a early next year thing. One of the other projects I'm working on now for the company is I own the code adoptions directory for ICC. And so what you're seeing here on the left is an internal user experience where we're going through and making sure that we've got all the base codes and the custom codes that each state has adopted based upon the code type. And what you're going to see in the next release in early November is on the right side, what you see in Revit is the moment you put in the jurisdiction, we're going to ask you a question. Would you like to pre-populate with the adopted codes of this jurisdiction? And we will give you the option to pre-fill all of those codes for you. And obviously, it's a one and done, then you can go in and change them or delete them or whatever. But we're going to try to make it easier so the flow of information goes from what we're actively doing that goes right into our user experiences. In terms of like, okay, so we've spent like the last year and change on Revit. We are also now focused on doing the same thing for AutoCAD. So everything you've seen here today is also applicable to products like AutoCAD. So that's going to be the next thing that we ultimately support. Again, probably an early next year thing. We have this thing called Code Connect, which I talked to at the top of the hour, which again allows developers like the Nemetscheks of the world, and Bluebeams, to actually take access all of our building code and create user experiences in their own products any way they see fit. And we've already had a number of conversations with some of the folks I've mentioned. You might see, and you probably will see, things like partnerships. The ICC sticker will be inside these other products at some point in time in the future. But again, we want to make sure that we're not the ones as the gatekeeper of building features out for products, that we say, no, if you want to build your own products with our content, absolutely go ahead and do that. And that's what this API is for. It's been publicly available for, I think, over a couple of years now. Okay, so as I kind of wrap up, as I mentioned, you can get this today, download it for free. You can go to our webpage and get the Revit 2023 and above there. But if you need 2022, it's also on the Autodesk App Store. As I mentioned, that outside all those features I talked about, if you just want to have read-only access to the code inside these various applications front ends, you can absolutely do that. And again, just a revisit of kind of the whole landscape of what we're doing here in the digital experience. A little bit about our subscription options. So again, I didn't really talk about, what is this all going to cost? So here's a bit of a primer. So when you access the building codes inside of Revit, you have various options available to you. And at the very least, you can always interact from Revit, again, for free. And so you can see on the left-hand side kind of what that gets you. Premium, every time you see the word premium, it's a for-fee service offering a list of features and supplemental materials like code and commentaries and insights that delivered are on top of the increasing inventory of content we produce. So you can always subscribe to like a single title of one book or a collection of titles like the California collection, or everything we have, which is called Premium Complete. And our Revit add-in integrates with all of this. So whether you're on subscription or not, you can use the Revit add-in to get access to the content. So again, in terms of timeframes, you can subscribe for any of those things for a month, a year, even 3 years, to any title or bundle of titles, which also comes with a set of all those features I was showing you. And so again, this is some sample pricing, but your mileage may vary depending on the content you're interested in. The pricing is really varied here at ICC. I'm involved in that directly, by the way, so I know. So I'll call out the Premium Complete offering on the right, again, which provides access to everything. It's kind of like it's like the Netflix model. You get everything that most everything we have in terms of content and standards, except certain standards that have licensing frameworks that we can't do this with. But most of our content is there. All of our features are there. You get discounts for if you're a member of ICC, the duration. So the more you subscribe volume wise, or the longer you subscribe, we really discount. We are very discount friendly here. We're the JCPenney of building codes. And so let me just do a couple other things that are kind of related to pricing, but they're also features of what we do. So something that I didn't show in the product is called concurrent access. And what this is that if you're a subscriber, it allows up to 4 of your fellow employees to access codebook content and collaborate through a common code. So you're essentially Netflix code sharing with 3 other people in your office. So once you have a subscription, you can share that with other people who can get access to, again, all of the features of the products, all the content you're subscribed to. Instead of buying 4 separate licenses, 1 per employee, your firm only pays once for the code book and you share it amongst your team. And essentially, in terms of like how we're discount friendly, this reduces your licensing costs by 75%, which again, really supports, everybody who's under budget or budget controls. So very important there. The last thing I'll talk about here around pricing is that we have this enterprise model, which gives your organization, a scalable team-wide access to the most current building codes. So if you rather buy 1 seat per person in your company, you can do that as well. And that's what we call enterprise. And again, back to kind of the discounting, we've discounted this so much that it almost kind of comes out similar in price to concurrency. So it's like, again, you can talk to Phil. He's in charge of enterprise sales, and he can provide quotes. But again, having worked on the enterprise pricing model for the company, again, we made it really, really attractive. But you can't see the prices online. You have to talk to Phil about that. But as part of the enterprise experience, again, your whole group gets premium access. You don't have to share a license. There's nobody can block the other. When I'm online, can you get offline? That business. Again, you have a centralized admin control, which gives your leaders the ability to oversee users, streamline workflows. So you have like an admin who can manage all the licenses as well, like like every other enterprise software company. So anyway, I encourage you, if you're a medium or large size firm and you want to get them a couple more seats than, like, I would say 5 seats, talk to Phil about that directly. And then lastly, I would say that there is a 14-day free trial. So I encourage you, it's the premium experience. You can get access to everything. Test drive it and see what you like and what you don't like. And again, you can always fall back on a free experience, the read-only experience, after your trial's over. And I know I've got a few minutes left, so let me just finish up with kind of like the last thing I want to say is like, okay, so in summary, what are the top 10 key ROI drivers that make ICC digital codes a no-brainer? Again, this speaks to the question of like, how do I show that this is an affordable thing when we're all under tight budgets? So starting with, again, search. So our advanced search saves you hours compared to flipping through books. Number two, we have improved submittal quality. So embedding citations and notes into your drawing to reduce permit rejection risk. We have AI Navigator. So if you're looking for quick compliance answers, it reduces, your time in terms of research. You can just ask a human type question and get a reasonable answer, and be able to dive down deeply into the literature. We have code commentaries. So again, immediate explanations of the why behind the code, which removes hours of back and forth clarification. We have premium answers and quick consult. So you get fast expert interpretations to avoid weeks of RFIs or delays with all that extra content, at least within premium answers. Next up, and to finish, you get consistency across your team. So every architect or engineer is citing the same official content, which can avoid conflicting interpretations because you're all looking at the same books. Training and knowledge retention. Your staff learns faster with commentaries and calculators and curated answers. So again, helps with onboarding costs. Makes everybody better, in fact. Future proofing. So digital subscriptions auto update with new codes. So again, avoiding obsolescence. Current access, what I just covered. Again, one license can serve 4. So you can reduce your cost up to 75%. Or you can save by just going directly to enterprise and getting multi-year volume and member pricing. So again, that's a bit of kind of what we've been up to here in ICC land, and thinking about the world of building information modeling, how we connect more and more of all this information that's being generated on a daily basis from ICC and feeding it into the experience that as you're working in products like Revit, you have quick and easy access, and it's informative for you. And again, really levels up your game. These are where you can reach me. This is my ICC safe email address. Feel free to reach out to me, even if it's about something not ICC related. I'm happy to talk about the AEC industry with you, and also happy to connect on LinkedIn. So I'll take a breath, Phil. I have a glass of water, and I'm open to any other questions for the remaining minutes. And thank you very much, everybody, by the way.
Feel free to raise your hand here if you want. I did post both of our email addresses in the chat as well. Someone asks about the, sorry, I'm copying and pasting for it. What was the question about where to locate download it? Hold on.
I
Flipping
will
between all my screens. I got the link to our website page.
This is it's codes.iccsafe.org/Revit is where
got it.
Okay. I'll leave that up on the screen.
Yeah, drop the link in there as well too. So yes, we are at the top of the hour. So this time we will close it down without asking the questions. I did post both Eric's email and my email in there. Feel free to contact us on anything that we presented here or anything that you're looking to do in the future, both with digital codes and also anything that's going on, if you're in the AEC community there that you could see added to the new tools that we're doing for your market. All these tools and features that we continue to update and add more on are results of people interacting with us and letting us know what they need in the future. So
I'll second that. Yes.
Question about CyberDyne will close us out then, Eric.
All right.
It was the last question in there. I didn't recognize what it's from.
I don't have, can you state the question?
Oh,
I don't have in my
not
step up.
affiliated with Cyberdyne, question mark?
No, not affiliated with Cyberdyne.
Okay. All right, I will turn off the recording and stay on a few more minutes. So once again, thank you for attending. We are doing these each month. Please feel free to visit the Digital Codes website webinars where you registered for this one to keep updated on what we are doing in the future. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Thanks all.